Hello. Unashika hivyo tama juu yangu ama okay juu ya hello ama nini? Okay, sawa. Acha basi tuende sasa ya ukweli.
Ya ukweli.
Sawa. 1 2 3. Hello. We are back again on your screens. It's a new week and we are here. This is Truthcast.
Tunajua mmetumiss sana but kama kawa kama dawa tumekuja kudeliver the same dosage. Wewe, hebu nipigeni makofi. Yo.
Yes. Thank you so much. Today it's still September, Suicide Awareness Month, right?
Yeah.
And there's a book we've been reading. If you follow us on Instagram, sana, you know, you always get updates on our book reviews, the books we read. Tunawaambianga beforehand. And then, if you also don't know where to get the books we are reading, tunaweza kupea.
Yes.
Ama we can guide. Sisi tunawapea ebooks.
Yeah.
Ama we guide you if you want a physical book. Like my sister here, she loves physical books and ebooks. Awapatanangi. We guide you where you can get them.
Yeah.
It is good. Please join us in reading this book. Sawa. So that means kama huja to follow Instagram.
What are you waiting for?
I want you to hit pause. Go now to after Instagram, Truthcast KE. Follow us because there are more updates there. We're also on TikTok.
Yes.
Truthcast KE. Tufuate huko. I think we should start doing lives, should we?
Yes.
Yeah, we should start doing lives. So mujue kama mjua to follow on other platforms, you're missing on exclusive content. Exclusive content.
Na so zile zenye mnananga huko kuona huko zingine zo exclusive zingine za ndongaje zile za fan. Only fans, si za only fans.
Si hizo. Yeah.
The person behind the camera is looking at me weird. I said what I said. I meant what I said.
For some people it is good you specify, you tell them these things.
Maybe exclusive alafu wakutumie pesa wakifikiria tuma tu.
Tuma tu.
You will be seeing people who are led of Christ and sons of God.
Yeah. So without much further ado, let us get into the book of the day. Hii book ilikuwa inaitwa Maybe You Should Talk to Someone. So this is how the book looks. Maybe you should talk to someone, and then it has a box of tissue there because maybe you should talk to someone.
Yeah. And
it was a very interesting read.
Yeah.
How the writer went about telling her story. I've never seen such writing before. Spencer, maybe you can just tell us kidogo to what was the book about generally as you were reading it.
So first of all, this book has been written by a therapist. The book was suggested by Siokao. I think she took time and she really looked for a good book. So this book was actually really nice.
Yeah.
When it started, I was really struggling with it because nilikuwa na feel bro, umse anaongea sana. Like,
the writer is kind of slow in unveiling the story.
But the reason she takes so much time in telling her story is because she's also a writer by profession. Apart from being a counselor, she's a writer by profession. So she was merging those two worlds together. So she tells a lot of stories. And the book is basically about this lady. Her name is Lori Gottlieb. And she talks about her story and being a therapist, how it got to a certain point where she had to look to seek for therapy services from someone else because she had gone through a major breakup, and she didn't expect to take it the way she did. She was sobbing every time. She was almost losing weight. She didn't have psych to do anything. She kept on waiting for her.
It really got to her.
Yeah, she kept on waiting for her boyfriend to text her back.
And he wasn't. He said his case and he was done.
Yeah, and the breakup was very sudden. It's not that they were drifting apart or anything. In fact, they had bought tickets. They were going to watch a certain movie together.
In fact, I think I know if it is that same day, I'm hiding. You say your lover can hide notes for you. Special notes for you. The same day he broke up with her. So one of the thoughts zenye zilikuwa zinamsumbua ni if this person was planning to break up with me, why was he doing this? If alikuwa sha make up mind yake. But anyway, what I also found the books very slow. Very slow. But what kept me to go back and read it to keep going back and read it is because I found it interesting that she's a therapist who had issues, and she was speaking about her issues as a therapist who had to go to another therapist.
Yes.
And that was also hard for her.
And even in the story, she also talks about how she experienced some patients who were
irritating her. There's one patient who kept talking about idiots.
Oh my God.
Everyone was an idiot to him.
Yeah,
that was a difficult patient.
So as the book progresses, she talks about how she went for therapy, and what I loved the most about this book, actually, Maggie, was the kind of questions that her therapist was asking her. Her therapist was making her feel the way she made her patients feel in the therapy room. And every time her therapist asked her a question, she was like, oh my God.
She will self-reflect.
Yes, and then she would be like, so this is how my patients feel when I ask them these questions.
I actually feel the same way when you ask me questions.
What do you mean?
Spencer will ask, I'll come to Spencer, I'll talk. She'll listen, okay, And then she'll ask me one question and I'll be like, oh, okay. Then I start thinking. In fact, Sijika may notice, you'll ask, I'll come tell you things. And then you'll ask me a question and then I'll try answer kidogo. Then I'll go home, think about it, then come back, tell you about what I thought. Like your questions help me reflect.
Interesting.
Yes. That's why I keep coming back. Okay, so the other time you said this, so now what do you think about? Then I'll go back and reflect, and then I'll come back.
Yeah, so I liked that Lori was able to show us that even as a therapist, when she was at a breaking point, she needed therapy. She went and sought for therapy. In fact, even before she settled for that therapist, she asked around, and it just not made me see, because I already knew. It just rubber stamped the fact that I know looking for a therapist is not an easy thing, guys. We normally put it out there for you guys. Go for therapy, go for therapy, go for therapy. But it's not easy finding the right person for you. You have to check. Like, I remember when she was looking for a therapist, she was like, she wanted
someone who's married.
She wanted someone who was married. She wanted someone who is in a family that's functioning. She wanted someone who does not know her, whom they're not in the same circles. Like, she looked and looked and looked. By the time they were actually getting this therapist, she had searched for a while. So it made me see that therapy is not like the way you can just walk into any hospital and get treated. Yes, you will get treated, but you will be treated by someone whom you feel will be able to understand you and will be able to give you what you need.
So you did see it as being biased, because May thought she was doing that because in her head she thought, this person will tell me what I want to hear. If this person in such a setup
will get me
and probably tell me, yes, your boyfriend is such a...
But you see, the whole point of therapy is you need someone who will be able to get you, but not get you to help you stay there. Help you to get you and to help you propel you forward.
So, ndo tusifanye musikie ni kama mko left out. To make it easier for you who has not even read the book, we'll just share what stood out for us from the book. And then if you find it's interesting, go ahead and get the book. But I'd say, without thinking much, go ahead and get the book. Especially if you think you already need to be talking to someone. Get the book. So one of the things that stood out for me was, we can't change without loss. Which is why so often, I'm actually quoting the book she had written, we can't have change without loss, which is why so often people say they want change, but nonetheless, stay exactly
where they are. Yes.
So you want to change, but you don't want to lose something in the process of that change. I don't know if you want to expound on that.
This is a very weird example, and I don't even like the fact that I want to use that example, but I'll use it. Snakes. Before a snake grows into that long snake, it has to shed its skin. And that process of shedding its skin, if you Google it, it's usually very painful for them. And when they finish shedding that skin, they are usually very hungry and very thirsty. So they usually go out looking for prey. But they usually know, if I don't shed this skin, I will die. Yes. So they do their best. They do their level best to ensure that they endure that process of shedding that skin. So those snakes that you don't like actually take the time to do what? Shed the skin and shed it and shed it. And in fact, you'll hear some people saying, "Unasikia hii harufu." You've heard people saying things like that. I mean, I'm usually like, what the hell are they saying? Because me, I don't know if I know that smell. But some people who've lived in areas where they usually know, and they usually put I don't say they prepare, but they sort of guard themselves. They put oil so that the snake doesn't get into the house. Yes, because if once that snake finishes shedding that skin, it's over for you.
Yeah, let me also give an example. I also don't know if it will make sense, but let me give it. When I never lived alone.
Okay.
Like the way you go to after college, now you move into your own space, and then after that, I moved from my mother's place to my husband's home.
Place, yes.
I never got the chance to live alone. So when I was getting into my husband's house, after some months, now it's loading on me. Okay, you just don't live in a house. Rent actually has to be paid.
Yeah.
You just don't wake up and eat. You actually have to go and buy the food.
Yeah.
So, me having to, that was a change I was going through. And it was not an easy change.
Yeah.
You're being taken care of. Here, this person will come and start reasoning with you. Okay, so rent next time unaonaje?
Yeah.
You have to start thinking.
Yeah.
So anyway, what I had to lose in that change, I had to lose my baby self. I had to lose the fact that
you had to let go of your former self.
I had to let go of my former self, exactly. And the same thing happened when I became a mom. I had to let go of my former self. Do I miss those times? Yes. Do I miss who I was before I got married? Oof, yes. Do I miss how my life was before a child?
Yes,
but I had to lose that for some change to happen.
Yeah.
And in as much as it doesn't sound nice when I'm saying it now, if you're not married and probably if you don't have a child, it's not sounding nice to your ears what I'm saying. But
it's not even probably making sense.
Yeah, but thing is, I love the version of me that I am now. But you say I couldn't have gotten to this version if I hadn't gone through those steps and lost the other versions of me. So I think that is what the writer was trying to tell us when she said we can't have change without loss, which is why so often people say they want to change but nonetheless stay exactly the same way. There are people who go for therapy and they never change. They remain the same.
And then they come out of therapy saying that therapy doesn't work.
It doesn't work. But really, you didn't want to put in the work, or you
wanted your therapist to put in the work for you.
Yes, exactly.
Hey! Today you are spitting facts, my sister. Fire for fire. So you need to talk to someone.
I do, and I'm actually embracing that point. Yes, I was not a fan of therapy. In fact, these people used to tell me, therapy. I used to look at them and think, surely. But now, yes, I think I do need to talk to someone.
As I was reading this book, I found myself leaning more into, I was getting what the story that Lori was trying to bring to us, but I was really leaning more on the side of the therapist. I was getting why her therapist was called Wendell. I was getting why he was asking.
I love Wendell.
I used to find him to be so boring, but so good at his job. I like that when Wendell allowed Lori to be Lori. And there's a part she was saying she was looking for a place where she is not going to be a therapist. She's going to be the patient. And again, just the same way I've said, she had to really, really look. Because if you're a surgeon, for example, you're an orthopedic surgeon, you know everything about it.
Yeah.
And then it happens to you. You're going to find if you're the best, you're going to go to the second best.
Yes.
Because you know that only that second best can reason with you somehow. So when she was saying she had to look for a place where she's not going to be a therapist, I understood it to mean she wanted a place where she was going to be seen for a woman who is going through a breakup.
Yeah.
And when now she found Wendell, and Wendell used to ask her some of these questions, and they used to piss her off. There's a point where Wendell was asking her, "Mbono umeka huko mbali? Why are you sitting there?" And then I like the way she used to describe Wendell's office. So she would tell us where she went and sat every time. So I'd go back to that photo and see, so this is where she sat. And as her sessions were continuing, she became freer. Because when the session started, she went and sat there, and Wendell is sitting there. But as they continued, she moved closer to Wendell, and sometimes Wendell used to come and sit next to her. And she found it weird. I like that she found it weird how Wendell's office looked like. I don't know if you remember how she described it.
Yes.
Like, who has an an L office for a therapy room?
I remember her asking Pia, where is the escape route? The escape route is actually, I think that was just the door.
Yeah.
Escape route.
But here, it's just a seat. And Wendell will sit. And then she was like, who on earth puts up such a thing? But I came to understand that for Wendell, therapy is not you sit on that side, I sit on this side. It's I'm on your side.
Wow. Okay.
That's why Wendell used to come and sit next to her. If she sits where Wendell cannot sit next to her, Wendell will sit in a place where to just show her that bado niko karibu na wewe. Yeah. I really, really liked it because you can choose. When I was doing my undergrad, I had friends who picked the wrong therapists. They were therapists themselves, or they were therapists in the making. But they went and, because tulikuwa tunachaguliwa therapists, because you needed to go through a certain amount of hours for you to graduate. So our wakachaguliwa therapists when they were na bo. And they used to come to me after the session and they're like, okay, let me tell you, today that lady forgot my name.
Oh.
So yeah, there are some... And I get it. Some therapists are busy. Like you can have patients back to back. Someone can confuse you for Siokao. Yes, Siokao. So how are you doing? Hey, how is the small girl? And Siokao is like, I don't have a small girl. Or you're wondering, who are you talking about? Because right now you have two mixed identities. Yes. So it happened. And the fact that it was a very major win for me that she was able to find a good therapist, and this good therapist came to her level. Yeah.
So you were reading the book from a therapist's perspective.
I was. I really did. Majorly.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Me, I was reading the book from a reader's perspective.
As you should.
As I should. So, something else. Again, this is an exact quote from the book. She wrote, therapists too don't have their lives together.
Yeah, I actually underlined that.
That we don't even need to explain that.
Yeah.
So whether you're planning to go to therapy or you're already going to therapy, these people don't have their lives together.
Yeah.
That was a big take for me because being in a position where I'm considering therapy, I want to go and find someone who's well put together. I don't want to go find someone who has their dramas in life. So this was a take home for me that I need to give room for that.
Yeah.
Let me just go to that next one unless you want to expound on that. I continue.
You're breathing. Inakuongelesha.
Again, from the book she wrote, sometimes hell is us.
Wow.
We are the difficult people. And she said this, and we've said she had a patient who kept on referring to everyone around him was an idiot. Examples to random examples. My secretary is an idiot. My dog, an idiot. Siji who,
my
an
wife,
idiot. My wife, an
the gardener,
idiot. As in to him, everybody
the delivery guy.
The delivery guy. Everybody was the problem.
Apart from him.
He was never the problem, actually. In fact, the writer thought at some point, okay, could I also be an idiot to him at some point?
Yeah. I remember.
And she said, sometimes hell is us. We are the difficult people.
Wow.
Could you be the difficult person? And it is actually true. Me, these people who keep saying, anafanyiwa, na hakuna kitu siku anafanyiana. I always conclude in my head,
something is wrong with them. Yeah. Or people who go out on social media and they diagnose everyone. They're like, I don't like the way Magina Mali does it. I don't like the way, I don't like you. You always don't like you.
Always.
Who has told you we like you?
I know. That is so true. We are laughing, but it is true.
Yeah. Ati me, I don't like. Have you ever seen?
What? Hangepaka kala ingine.
But you know what I really like about TikTok? Once they see you as that kind, comment.
Yeah, wow. They come for you.
Fire for fire. Unalimwa yako unanyolewa.
Hakunanga huruma.
Yeah. Because why?
No, unajua watu ulimana TikTok waanzisha. I've seen there are people who will even go to their pages and they cut them, and their pages always look funny. They're just funny looking people. Always.
Like I remember this one. Lucky, this is so So this lady commented on someone's video. Ati, na hiyo ni forehead yote ama hii ndio siku za usoni. You should have seen the comments. Watu walikuwa wamemtroll. Where people had trolled.
Yeah.
But like surely why would you just come and comment on someone's ati na hiyo ni forehead yote ama hiyo ndio siku za usoni.
Alafu upate hata ametrolliwa hivyo. They will sit someone and say, you know, people are so mean. Wa Kenya sijua kwa jina ni walianzisha.
Wow. Anyway, there's a part in this book where
I'm trying to, I don't know what is happening.
Uko sawa?
Niko sawa.
So there's a part in the book now where their sessions have started and if you remember, she used to cry. She used to come to the room and just cry. And this went on for a number of sessions, and then two things happened in one of those sessions that really made me. I was like, this is strange. In one of the sessions, no, but actually the first thing that happened is this: her therapist asked her. Told her rather, it seems to me that you're grieving something bigger than just the loss of your boyfriend.
I remember.
Where it made me see how when we go through breakups or any kind of loss for that matter, whether you've lost your business, whether you've lost your parent, whether you've lost your job, whatever it is you've lost, there is something bigger that's usually attached to that loss.
Yeah.
There are things we attach to the loss. And I remembered when I lost my business, when I was reading that part, I remembered when I lost my business, I felt like I had lost a whole year. Because the whole of 2022, that's all I was doing. I was juggling school, ministry, but 70% of my time I was in my shop. It even made me, I never used to wake up at 3-4. I used to wake up, nilisomanga sijui chapters ngapi ya Atomic Habits.
Yeah.
Na the 5 a.m. club. Nikakuwa naamka 4, natoka kwa nyumba 5, nimeenda soko nini. So my life started revolving around this business.
Yeah.
It revolved around this business. And now I was drawing so much fulfillment and achievement from this business. When I lost it, I felt like I had lost myself.
So that was the problem. Okay, let me just call it a problem because you need to. It was the problem that you were drawing so much fulfillment from this thing.
I don't think
the bigger issue.
That was the thing that I was grieving the most. I can't call it a problem. I can just say that was the grief that was attached to it.
It wasn't that the shop went. It's that this thing was fulfilling you.
This thing used to fulfill me, and I knew Uprise was going to become a franchise. And it is still going to be a franchise. But I felt like it had been robbed off of me. I felt like
your baby was taken away.
Because actually that's what happened. I felt like they came and they took my dreams. That is what I was grieving. That is what almost led me to depression. And then another thing that happened in the therapy room that I really resonated with was when she was crying, and then Wendell came and kicked her.
I remember that, but I didn't understand.
I had to read it twice. So she said, Wendell, because now a number of sessions had gone and this lady was just coming to the session and bawling her eyes out. And now I could understand Wendell because he was feeling like, now I'm not making headway. You're paying me money and a lot of money for that matter, but you're coming here to cry.
Cry only, yeah.
So since you like to suffer and you enjoy suffering to the point
let me cause you some more
wacha
suffering.
Nikupatie reason to suffer.
To suffer.
So she asked Wendell, okay, what was that? Then Wendell was like, yeah, seems like you enjoy suffering. And then she was like, really?
Could that be the reason that maybe some of us stay in a bad place for long? Because you actually like the suffering.
And I was going there. It reminded me of when I was grieving my business, I just wanted to be in my room, locked up, feeling worthless forever. And my mom akaniita kutoka bedroom siku moja. You know, my mom called me Spepe. And she was like, Spepe, utataka kulia mpaka lini? That's not the end of life. But then my mom spoke life into me. And after she did that, I started praying. And now I started praying after everyone has gone to sleep. I started praying at night. she called me and told me, unataka kulia mpaka lini? That is not the end of life. And then she told me, in fact, I don't even think you should have closed it. In fact, if you want to reopen it right now, you can reopen it. Si kuna vitu hapa kwa nyumba.
Well, I thought the same thing when it happened. It's just that you were not, I don't know, I don't think you were receiving that.
That's why I'm telling you, I felt like this all had stolen my dreams. They stole every willingness that I had to pour into this business. So when Wendell said, seems like you enjoy suffering, I remembered my mom asking me, why are you continuing in this suffering like there's anything you can do about it? And it reminded me of people who have lived in traumatic environments. That's all that they know. For example, someone who's coming from a family that is of a single parent, they do not know how to treat that other person.
Yeah.
You know,
for example, other parents now.
They don't know how to treat their partner. For example,
oh yes,
yeah. For example, if you're coming from a single mom, you're not sure how to deal with men. If your mother has been calling men dogs all your life,
men are dogs to you.
Men become dogs to you, and you start saying men are not to be trusted. Yet there are some men who are good. So since you've lived in this trauma, it has become such an intrinsic part of you such that you don't even know how to disattach yourself from it.
In fact, when you feel like you're detaching yourself from it, you feel like, okay, now you're not yourself.
Yeah.
You have to go back.
You feel sick, you feel weird, you even start experiencing withdrawal symptoms. How many times do we deal with people who come from homes that have domestic abuse, domestic violence, and they go back there because they're like, apana.
This is all I know.
Yeah, ni bwana yangu.
But in real sense, that is all their subconscious.
That is all their subconscious is used to.
Oh.
So this book, I was seeing it from the lens of a therapist.
My people, maybe you should talk to someone.
Maybe you should talk to someone.
Yeah, maybe.
Maybe you should talk to someone.
Something else for me. Now this is from a therapist's perspective. She wrote and she said, therapists prefer to work with high-functioning patients.
I underlined that one.
Yeah, so who is a high-functioning patient? You who is thinking of going to therapy. Responsible, have capacity for self-reflection. You are not always calling between sessions. Can form relationships and manage adult responsibilities. I think I've ever watched you deal with a patient who kept calling and calling and calling and calling. Yeah, let me tell you, I couldn't even share a meal with Spencer in peace. That patient kept calling and calling and calling. And I remember nikikuhurumia. Nikishangaa, guy, sasa hii ndo kazi special atakuwa anafanya. Surely.
Guy, I remember.
She kept calling and calling and calling. And I don't know how it was interacting with her, but again, ability to self-reflect. You should be able, I think that means you should be able, ukiambiwa kitu, think about it. You know, actually, allow me to backtrack kidogo. When you were talking about wanting to, umezoea suffering, you just want to stay there. We were talking about, the initial point was, probably what is making you sad right now, it's bigger than that. You're dealing with something totally
You're
different.
grieving something bigger.
Something bigger. Yeah. That also brings me back to, it's not about grieving, but I remember there's a time where in one of my relationships, I was so greatly betrayed. I was like, how dare that person do that to me? You know, again and again and again and again. And I felt so betrayed. And I was talking to one of my friends, and I was telling that friend, I think this person has really affected me because now I can't trust people. You know, now when I am too emotional. And then this friend asked me, could it be that what this person, this betrayal that you have gone through, just triggered something that was always there?
Wow.
Let me tell you, after she asked me that, I am yet to talk about that person who I felt alini betray. And it caused me to think, and it made me reflect on how I grew up. Something that I was always avoiding to do. Mimi, because there's a time she called me, she was like, Maggie, I think we should talk about your childhood. I think I pushed her away. I didn't want to hear that. What do you mean? I was like, I felt like you were coming at me. But now that question made me to nianze kufikiria. And actually, that friend could have been right. Probably things that were there were just being triggered.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's very true.
So even you, so you see that's an ability to self-reflect. So I can be a good patient.
You can be a good patient.
Yeah. So do you have that ability to self-reflect, responsible? Now you're calling in between sessions. So Abu, tell us that patient who kept calling and calling.
Hey, let me tell
How
you.
did you deal with that eventually?
You know that patient came even before I had graduated, if you remember.
Yeah, I remember. You were just almost.
I was just almost graduating, and she wanted me to take her as a new patient. Someone referred her to me.
I remember. Yeah.
And this person who had referred her to me also had done a number of sessions with her. And
alikuwa
amechoka. So they referred her to me, and they didn't give me a background of what exactly is going on with this patient. So the main problem I was having with this patient at the time when she was calling me when we were together, was that I could not hear what she was saying.
Yes. But you people could text.
We'd text.
And you were very clear in the messages.
But she did not want us to continue texting. She wanted to call me, but I could not hear what she was saying. So I kept telling her, please text me. I've even forgotten her name. Please text me because I can't hear you. She'll text me and tell me I'm in hospital. Kindly pick up the phone. And then she'd call and call and call and call. Finally, I ended up telling her, we don't seem to align, and we don't seem to understand each other. I'm so sorry I will not be able to take you as a patient. However, I pray that you're able to find someone else. Okay. After I had terminated whatever it is that had not even started with her, now later on is when that therapist who was handling her comes and tells me that this patient has been, hey, let me tell you, Maggie, this patient was coming from she was Tanzanian, coming from a family where she was raped by her brothers. So she had suffered the trauma that comes with rape, PTSD. She got diagnosed with, was it bipolar or was it schizophrenia? She had double personality disorder. Like, she had a lot of diagnoses going on at the same time. To make matters worse, she's living in Kenya alone. This is according to this therapist. She's living in Kenya alone. So the only people who understand her are her therapists. But she becomes so frustrating, therapists terminate.
I thought she was a minor.
No, okay. She was 37.
Oh yeah, I remember.
Yeah, she was 37. Wow. So it became very frustrating. So even for the therapist who was handing her over to me, alikuwa ananiambia this lady used to call her wee hours of the night. Me, I never experienced that, thankfully. But she told me this lady used to call her wee hours of the night. She needs help. So she became very dependent on therapists. That one was one of the most complicated cases I've ever had in my entire life. Like, where I've listened to stories even online, that was the most complicated one that I have ever come across. Because, anyway, moving on swiftly, on that point that you've noted that therapists like patients who are high-functioning patients.
Yeah.
There's something I underlined here. Therapists talk a lot about how the past informs the present, how our histories affect the way we think, feel, and behave, and how at some point in our lives we have to let go of the fantasy of creating a better past. Let me read it again. We have to let go of the fantasy of creating a better past.
Wow.
So you're over there thinking about feeling regretful, but you're just creating a fantasy, thinking you can change the past. And you're just living in that bubble.
You can only influence the future.
And then another thing I underlined here was there's a continuing decision to be made as to whether to evade pain or tolerate it and therefore modify it. Let me read it again. There's a continuing decision to be made as to whether to evade pain or to tolerate it and therefore modify it.
Yeah.
So if you evade pain, like evading pain is the right thing to do. Like, how can I not feel pain? What should I do? But if you tolerate this pain, how now this lady was crying and sobbing every time, you end up modifying it and you spend more time with the pain.
So I modify it into now something that
Unashinanga tu hapo.
Nashinanga tu hapo.
Like you'll hear people making comments like, okay, me, it's always like this with me. Because you have embraced that pain and you have modified it and you have made it personal, you've made it yours.
So evading the pain is actually working towards not feeling the pain. Not ignoring.
Not ignoring
it's just
it.
working towards not feeling the pain. There's in relation to that, there's also something I got from the book. She said, don't judge your feelings. Notice them.
I underline.
Use them as a map. Don't be afraid of the truth. I think that's what it means by working towards not feeling the pain.
Yeah.
So she's not saying that you judge your feelings or ignore them. Notice them.
For
example, I'm feeling angry.
Yeah.
Why am I feeling angry?
Like this.
Exactly why. Is it because I was stepped on, or is it because the other day kuna makanga aliniambia mimi nimenona sana? Which is which? You get?
Yeah.
Or inaweza takwa maybe si juu niliambiwa nimenona sana. Maybe when I was in class 5 my mama alishinda akiniambia venye I'm big. You get? Yeah, so that's what, don't judge your feelings, notice them, use them as a map. Don't be afraid of the truth. That one stood out for me. Don't be afraid of the truth.
Don't be afraid.
Many times we're afraid of the truth. In this sense, as something as simple as so and so did this to me, like it was done to me. Some things can be done to you and you're in disbelief.
Yeah, uamini.
But just accepting, but that by the way it was done to me, you know, and I'm not special, ndo isikwe done to me. Kwanza kuna this question people ask, like, why not you? Mbona isikufanyikie? Why not you? But anyway, accepting that this actually was done to me, okay, sawa, and it hurt me. I'm not as strong as I thought I was.
It takes a lot of strength to acknowledge that you're not as strong as you think you are.
Yeah, I don't know if this is in relation to this point, but this girl, one time we were having a conversation, and she told me I have a small mindset. Let me tell you, she looked at me, she told me, Maggie, in fact, yeah, you are sitting kwa Maggie, I think you have a small mindset. Nikamwambia, you think so? Yes, I think you do. And let me tell you, that thing was so heavy on my heart. That is one of the things I went home to think about. In fact, I slept thinking about it. I woke up thinking about it until I even texted her. I think I asked you said I have a small mindset.
You said, you really think I have a...
Yes, I asked her, you really think I have a small mindset?
But no.
Because I was in disbelief. But now, okay, when you explained, you were like, you know me, okay. But after you explained, I was like, it was a truth that was hard to face. That is what I'm trying to say.
Oh my God.
But anyway, you helped. It was a truth that was hard to face.
Yeah.
So don't be afraid of truths. And just because of that Kawan statement, it got me into an even deeper state of working on myself. Okay. So yeah, she just meant that I have a small mindset in a certain area, which was probably true. You get? But do not with the word probably. But the thing is, I accepted that truth and I'm willing to work on that. Imagine if she told me that and I could have been, no, I don't like the way you're talking to me. And I'd be like, hey, imagine Speyo is telling me this. Who does she think she is to tell me that? Blah, 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 blah. Do you think I would have ever put any work on myself in any form? Probably it was something I needed to work on to get to where I want to get. To where I should be.
Yep.
Yeah, so embrace truths. Even in your therapy sessions, embrace truths. Because I am so sure there are people who probably change therapists because they were told a hard truth. Or they were prompted to think about a hard truth.
Yeah, and I even like the fact that you brought that up, because you see when you go for therapy, or when you go to therapy, or when you're in therapy, they're supposed to help you see things from a different perspective. Because, for example, if I'm looking at this book and I'm only looking at it from this perspective like this, all I'm seeing is this. So a therapist should introduce me to this side, and this side and this side. Oh, and actually there's this side.
Yeah.
And there's actually this side. Oh, and even inside there are pages. So it's just to be able to pick your mind on opening it up and making you see that there are many ways to accomplishing something. There are many ways to healing. There are many ways to forgiveness. There are many ways to healing your past and your trauma wounds, and there are many ways.
Yeah.
And that's why even the same therapists, when they're done, they go to their supervisors. They also go to people who will help them take care of their own problems. But I want us to finish. There's a part, this lady did something that I was like, really? She did something that that is currently happening mostly in the West. But in Africa, it has not yet been really embraced, but there are people who are doing it. You remember when she said she went and she got her own baby? She said she was feeling like she's aging. She was sure she wanted to become a mother, but she was not willing to wait
For a man.
You remember? And now she gave us the story of how it was hard finding a sperm donor. When I was reading that, I was thinking about a small girl like me, maybe who's reading it, maybe they're in their 16, 17, 18. And I was like,
That's a small girl like you.
Okay, maybe a small girl like the way I was.
Okay.
If this book is to land into the hands of a very young girl. Yeah. And I know, right, and I know nowadays there's the freedom and liberality of, you know what, if you want to get a baby, you can get a baby. Without a man. Or if you don't want to get a child, you should not get a child. You know, there are a lot of theories that are now up in the air. Like you just sniff it and you catch the flu. And I don't know how I felt about it, because first of all, it didn't even sit well with my faith.
Okay.
Because we believe children need to be conceived by two people, and they need to be brought up in one family. And it broke my heart, because now she had gotten the baby, and the baby was being brought up by her only. And now this, her boyfriend had broken up with her, yet they were supposed to get married.
Yeah.
And now I was like, so what have you done to this child?
I get what you're saying.
And now, will this child ever be able to have their own family? Will they know what it looks like to have a family? Because truthfully speaking, the best way to teach a child is through modeling. What have you modeled for this child that a family is? And it made sense to me that she would do it, because throughout the book, I don't hear her mentioning anything to do with faith. But for me, looking as a Christian, I was like,
that didn't sit well.
It didn't really sit well with me. And she went on and she described it. And people even did for her a baby shower. I was like...
Yeah, it happens a lot.
In the West, I know it happens. In Africa, I've not heard it happening.
Kama ziko, very few.
Very few, and people shun it. Hakuna mtu atafanyia baby shower. In fact, you will just deliver that baby on your own.
On your own.
And people will just find out that, oh, by the way, I have a baby right now. And then if they want to know how you got the baby, they'll come take you out for coffee, you can explain. But I was like, I didn't have a problem with the fact that she did it. It was now she got a boyfriend. They were supposed to get married, and now they didn't get married anymore. I don't know how I felt about it. Anyway, for you to find out whether this boyfriend and this therapist got back together, read the book.
Get the book. You can please DM us on Instagram if you want to get the ebook.
I can give you my copy.
Yeah, if you want the hard copy, she can give you her copy, or we can direct you to where you want to get the ebook.
Underline ikona notes za therapy.
Yeah. Yay. And she's a therapist, so I may underline very catchy areas. The last thing before we close, I want to read something here. I want to leave it as food for thought. She said, we tend to think that the future happens later, but we are creating it in our minds every day. Yeah. When the present falls apart, so does the future we had associated with it. Having the future taken away is the mother of all plot twists. We tend
to
think that the future happens later. but we are creating it in our minds every day. In other words, the future doesn't happen later. It's happening now.
No.
You're creating it
The future
now
is now.
in every moment.
Wow.
When the present falls apart, so does the future we had associated with it. And having the future taken away is the mother of all plot twists. This made me think how you live now affects how your future will be. I think that was literally what she was trying to say. And also, you can't live saying, I will do this when I get there. You create it in your mind in the present. And I think probably now that guides you just there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where?
So the future doesn't happen later. It happens now in your mind. What are you creating in your mind?
Where? Guys, this book was a nice read. If you are people who like to think about life and decisions, this book will help you broaden your mind in terms of perspectives, and it will help you understand how therapists think.
Yeah.
So even when you're going to a therapy room and you're asked a weird question, it will not that it will not sound new, but
it
you
won't bother you.
Yeah, it won't bother you, and you'll know that the question is being asked from a good place.
To help you.
Yes.
Yes. So please get your copies. I repeat, if you want an ebook, just DM us on Instagram. We'll give you an ebook. If you want the hard copy, we'll guide you to where you can get the hard copy. Spencer can also give you her hard copy.
Yeah.
Ukitaka uende photocopy.
Aye. Yeah.
That's
But yeah,
it for today's
we hope you
book
enjoyed.
review. Yeah, we hope you enjoyed. We hope you took down some nice points here and there. I think
Yeah.
we may release some very good points here.
Yeah.
Until next week. Bye-bye.